everybody, and thanks Rochelle, thanks Erica, thanks Tati, thanks Andrea. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you all to write and talk. So I'm Megan Giddings, and I'm here to talk to you and read to you about Lakewood. And it's my very first novel. It came out in March of this year, which feels, at least to me, like 200 years ago, and maybe to you it feels like 1,000, or maybe it was just yesterday because time has no meaning anymore. And I want to talk to you a little bit about myself. So I'm originally from Owasso, Michigan, and it's a really small town between Lansing and Flint. Oh, thanks for the congratulations, everybody in the chat too. And I'm currently a visiting assistant professor at Michigan State University, but I'm also simultaneously in Indiana because we're online this semester. So I'm both here and elsewhere at the same time. And I'm also a first generation college student. So my journey to writing, I thought for a long time that I might be a teacher, which would be great too. My parents kind of hoped when I got into Michigan that I would be a lawyer, which would at least have been money, but I'm not sure if it would have been great. No offense to any lawyers present. And I always loved writing though, from a really young age. So I didn't even think about writing as hard. Like I had a teacher who gave me a journal in the first grade, and that was it. I wrote all the time. I liked drawing. I just liked having this whole little world to myself, which I bet a lot of you could relate to. And then I got really serious about writing when I went to college, which a lot of people do. And I had great teachers who pushed me toward being a poet first. And I thought for a long time I would be a poet. And then I realized, no, I want to write stories. I want to be surprised. I want to build a whole world and get there. And that's also some of the writing we're going to do today is building characters and worlds. And I'm really excited to do that. And I worked for a few years. I applied to MFA programs, which are these things that a lot of writers do right away. But I got into zero after college. But it was kind of one of the best things that happened to me because I got to spend the time figuring out could I write and work, kept up with friends, and we made our own writing group where we would read to each other and we would write with each other. And we would just celebrate writing. And so being here feels a little bit like that, like I'm with all of my friends who are now scattered all over the world, getting a chance to write and talk about writing with you all. So on that note, I'm going to read just a little bit from Lakewood. And what you need to know about this book is it's about a girl named Lena. And you'll find on the first page, if you pick it up, that her grandmother, who was like a mother to her, has just died. And her mother has chronic illnesses. So even though Lena's a college student, she's become head of the family. And she's searching for a job. And even in the world I envisioned, it's really hard to find a job if you don't have a college degree. And she gets invited to be in a research study, which feels a little too good to be true. And spoiler alert, it is too good to be true, but you'll keep finding that out further and further throughout the book. And I'm going to read to you where she's already at one of the research. Well, and we're going to read just one of the things that happens to her at the very beginning. So, in the next doctor's office, the furniture was the exact color of the walls. There were no windows. The doctor, he was a shorter white man with a loud voice and a trendy haircut. He didn't introduce himself. A tattoo was on his arm that made the limb look as if it was trapped beneath a long trail of ivy. Lena decided that if he didn't introduce himself, she would start calling him Vines. It's easier if I demonstrate what we're doing rather than trying to explain it to you, the doctor said. He pressed a button on his laptop and played what sounded like a whirring espresso machine. Now tell me, what does that sound make you immediately feel? Annoyed. Anything else? Anxious. Great. For all the next ones, you'll just write things down. The tea kettle's scream made her feel thirsty. And if that was an emotion, she guessed it made her feel content. Or maybe about to be content. Cricket's song, happiness. Frogs croaking, disgust. Now we're going to get weirder. I want you to tell me what you think these things would taste like. He played harp music. Lena wrote Cinnamon Toast Crunch. a glass shattering. Lena thought that would taste like black pepper. She wanted to ask him if it was weird that this was more fun and less stressful than the previous session, but he was focused on his computer. Now draw whatever you might see while listening to music. Oh, that pen's out of ink? Here's another. It can help to keep your eyes closed. A bird chirping only prompted another drawn bird. It was a really ugly robin. Music that sounded like default video game fighting music prompted a ghost and a sword, which is appropriate for tonight. They went into a much smaller room. It was so small that there were only a few inches of clearance on either side for the long armchair it held. Waiting on the chair were 2 pens and a sketchbook. Lena thought it must have been a nightmare to get that chair into this small space. A small speaker was installed directly over the chair. There's someone else in the room next to yours, the doctor said. You'll both hear the same loud, clear tone. While you're listening, you're going to make your mind as blank as possible. Clear it out. Take deep breaths. No to-do lists, no worries. The other person hearing the tone is going to be shown an image, and they're going to try to think it at you. How can you think something at someone? You've never looked at someone else and briefly known exactly what they were thinking? Well, sure. Well, you're going to draw or write whatever image they think at you. This feels like a party game. He frowned. You need to be focused. Okay. He told her again to write or draw what she sees. It'll be between 90-second and 3-minute intervals, depending on the image's complexity. Don't worry if the images you draw are ugly. I doubt Picasso could do something good that quickly. Actually, no, go over to box 2. Stay relaxed, loose. He studied Lena for a long moment, then left, closing the door firmly shut. A noise, long and low like a whistle. Lena automatically drew a tree blowing in the wind, tipping to one side, some leaves on the ground. The chair smelled a bit of scentless cleaning spray. Another sound, long enough that she wanted to hum along with it, reminded Lena of a ringtone. A man's face, long beard, oversized clear glasses, stubble, round eyes. It was like a police sketch. The man as she saw him, though, was completely colorless. Tone 3, a gong. Lena wrote a sentence. Sometimes the seeds grow in the morning light. Now stop there. So, in a few seconds, we're going to do a writing exercise. And we're going to do our own experiments because it was one of my favorite parts of writing Lakewood. And every time I got stuck, like it's really hard to write a novel. And one of the things that really sustained me was sometimes just writing these weird experiments. So I would look things up from like CIA documents and things like that, but I would also invent my own. And we're going to do that in the second prompt. But for the first prompt, let me explain one other thing about Lakewood to you. So one big part of the book is that Lena writes letters to her best friend, Tanya. And it's her way to both like get out all of her emotions, but it's also a way for me to tell the story in a way that kept everything going and made all the readers, hopefully you felt the same way when you read this, feel connected to Lena. So you're going to get out pen and paper, or you're going to get out your favorite Word document, and you're going to begin a story right now by having your main character write a letter to another character. And then while you're writing, think about how you'll create a voice, a whole world, and a connection with the reader all through the letter. So when I say a world, you've got to think about the details your character is going to care about. If you say, today it rained squirrels, then guess what? You invented a world that it rained squirrels and you're stuck with that world. If you want to just say it was an ordinary day, make sure we know what that means because you've created something brand new the minute you started writing this. All right, prompt number 2. So I read one of the experiments from Lakewood to you, and now you're going to write your own outlandish research study experiment. And you're going to try to make it as detailed as possible. And you're going to think a little bit, and this helped me, is what do you think your research study What's the goal of it? What do you want someone to know or to find out? What are they investigating? And once you figure out what they might be investigating, so for example, the one I read to you, they were investigating psychic connections, the ways that people might think and learn at each other. And the US government actually did that. They wanted to know if people were psychic, and they had experiments like that because, I don't know, they had a lot of free time or something. But other experiments throughout it are sometimes about dealing with pain. Sometimes it's about how you perceive yourself and appearance, where there's one where Lena's eyes get changed colors, and there's one where everybody eats pellets. And it was just really fun and weird and gross to write them. So you're going to write your own outlandish research study experiment. This is our third and final prompt, and I wish we had more time to write more and more and more because I'm having a ton of fun with you all. So this one, you're going to write 3 paragraphs. In each paragraph, one second. Each paragraph should be a different important moment in your character's life where the object is also present. And you're going to choose something that is seemingly small that belongs to the character you create in prompt 1, like a bag or a t-shirt or even a pen. So you'll go back to what you read before. And then remember, you're going to write 3 paragraphs. And each paragraph is going to be a different important moment in your character's life where the object is also present. And you're going to make it clear when you write that it's the same object every time.
This has been so wonderful. I encourage everyone to unmute and please warm our ears with a round of applause for Megan. This has been such a delight. Those prompts brought out really incredible stories. You can really tell that you're like meant to do this. So we're so happy to have you as part of the Girls Right Now community now, and look forward to hopefully more events just like this. I've got Megan's Twitter handle up here on the screen. Give her a follow. Tati is also going to drop the link if you'd like to purchase Lakewood. We have the bookshop.org link. We love to support our indie booksellers. And like I said, we also dropped her MSU email in the chat as well if you have any extra questions, if she didn't get to your questions.